Hello. All right.
Yeah.
Koyo, I'll give you the reins and welcome everyone to Rattlestick's Global Dialogue Postponed Indefinitely. Koyo, it's now in your hands.
Fantastic. Hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Koyo. I am a musician based in Nairobi, Kenya. I am also a queer identifying folk, and I'm happy to be here with everybody this Pride Month. So I will introduce our panel for the day, and I will also invite them to speak to us and let us know a little bit more about themselves. So I am joined from Nairobi, Kenya by my colleague Obel Joseph, who is a, how do I put it? An eclectic soul. Like he's always smiling. Look at him, always smiling and bringing joy to us, to the theater, to the creative space. He's always bringing his queerness and letting it shine. So I will go through the whole panel and then we will use the same order to introduce ourselves. Next, we're joined by another colleague of mine from Nairobi. We like to call her Riann. And Riann is, from what I've heard, a very creative human being. I love the work that she has done. She's very daring and very brave. And the work that she has put out this year alone is testament to that. So we'll get to hear more about Riann. Wave to us, Riann. Yay. And last but not least, certainly, we are joined by, drum rolls, a filmmaker we like to call Becca or Rebecca from East Africa and all the way in Rwanda. So hi, everybody. Turn on your mics and let us speak to our audience today. It's evening in Nairobi. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Hi, Obel.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Hi, Koyo. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me dive right into my introduction. My name is Joseph Obel, and I'm a theater maker, a dance choreographer, an educator, and an activist. So I use the arts to advocate for advocacy. My background is in theater arts and film. I have a bachelor's degree in theater arts and film. And my past experience has involved both teaching, acting, dance choreography, and screenwriting, and also producing. But I've also had the opportunity to be a festival manager at a film festival called Motion Pictures International Film Festival that has its branches in Utah in the United States, in Lagos, Nigeria, and in Nairobi, Kenya. And at the moment, I am the co-producer at an arts collective called Dark Hard Chocolate. And at Dark Hard Chocolate, what we do is we use theater to highlight, human rights and freedoms of LGBTQIA plus community in Kenya. So the content that we produce feature queer characters who are dealing with daily issues like finding love, maintaining relationships, sexual health, religion, amongst other things. So I'm usually very intentional in how I represent the community because mainstream media has done an injustice in that area. That's all about me. Yeah.
Thank you for introducing yourself. We move to our next panelist, Riann. What do you have to tell us about yourself?
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Riann Njeri from Nairobi, Kenya. Where should I start with this introduction with everything that I do? Anyway, as Gikuiyu said, I'm a multifaceted creative that ranges from be that to dance, acting. I can say I'm a bathroom singer because I'm not yet there, but anyway, yes. I'm also the founder of Mira Arts, which is a collective of artists from the Eastlands of Nairobi. Mira Arts has all sort of artists, from spoken word to music to theater and all that, though we major our major activities through theater that we use to tell our stories, our authentic stories, and also create a space that our artists can earn a living from, and also learn, just grow, mentor each other, create that safe space for us to tell our stories without using coded messages. Yes.
I love it. Love it. I love how it's such a diversity and a part of beautiful people who are creative and have an agenda. Over to you, Becca.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hey.
Thank you for me. So my name is Rebecca Mucyo Uwamahoro. I am a Rwandan filmmaker, actor, director, and writer. I joined the movie industry when I was a teenager, but I started doing advocacy through my art in 2017. After being outed on social media and losing my job, and then at first it started as a way of therapizing myself when I started writing the first project of advocacy, but then turned out to be a very good way of realizing that, you can always turn any lemon into lemonade. Birds can sing louder after the storm. So that's when I decided to do my advocacy through my art. I've so far worked with different activists in different ways. I've worked with different filmmakers, and I'm currently, working on my second advocacy film. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. Hoping to get to know more about myself as we proceed.
I love that. You're looking forward to knowing more of yourself. I think I want to take that too. I want to know more of myself through you guys. Okay, so wonderful introductions. Congratulations on all the wonderful things you guys have done. Your queer pride is showing, and there's so much more to do. There's so much more work to do. So for the sake of our audiences, I wonder whether we want to introduce our pronouns, just so that we are all on the same page. So I'll go first. I go by the pronouns he, him, they, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. What about you, Obel?
I go with he, him, they. Yeah, and I'm proud of it. Yeah.
Right. Riann?
Apologies. And the way I'm very, very keen on on introducing my pronouns. I don't know why today it skipped. It jumped through the window. Riann, Njeri. I use pronouns she, her, hers.
Yummy. What
Yeah,
about
my
you?
pronouns.
Yeah.
My pronouns are she, her, hers. Yeah. Indeed.
Indeed. Indeed. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's jump right in. Today we have a wonderful conversation. We're all queer creators, and there is so much that we want to do. We want to create. I think the essence of being an artist is the desire to create, and then you choose a medium that you believe is best suited for you. So for me, primarily it's poetry, it's music. For someone else, it's really the lens. So they pick up the camera and they're like, oh, I want to play with this. I want to, tell stories through this lens. For someone like Obel, is to sit down and write the hell out of the book, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing. So, well, I think for context purposes, when that is taken away from you, the fact that you're not even given space to fully explore that in a fair and a competitive environment, then we start feeling like, there's we don't even feel like there's a real persecution. There's something that's taken away from you. When you cannot showcase your work to public audiences, when your work is denied an audience, when your work is denied the opportunity to be heard, to be seen, to be consumed, to be experienced, to make a difference, I always feel like that's it's just gut-wrenching, right? And so that's actually why we're talking about this today. So my first question, yes, to everybody on this panel, what is the current state of queer art in your country? So for us here in Kenya, what is the current state of art to Obel in theater, musical theater? And Riann, what is the current state of, what are we seeing on the ground? Maybe you guys want to share first before we head over to Rwanda?
Riann, go first.
What we are seeing on the ground, wow.
Yeah.
Even the way I've started, it's like I'm telling a movie, I'm telling a story, I'm telling news, of which is no longer news on the ground anymore. The current state of queer art in Kenya, Nairobi at the moment, it's devastating, it's discouraging, it's dangerous, it's threatening, it's not accepted. It's cutting our legs and our hands, and just barring us from doing what we're supposed to be doing as artists. It's forcing us as queer artists who are also creating spaces that queer artists can showcase to just go back to the closet and just not, tell another story. Don't tell us about who you guys are or what are your challenges or whatever you guys are doing. No, we don't want that. You have to do what we are used to. It's not accepted, totally not accepted. Yeah. Obel, do you want to add something on that?
Yeah,
I know we'll give details later on, but wow, it's yeah.
Yeah, as Riann has said, and the devastation is there. The authorities and even a lot of the people who love to create for, especially the people who love to be our allies, they prefer us telling other stories, their stories and not our stories. They're okay with us not mentioning, anything queer. And I just wanted to say it mainly it stems from the Constitution of Kenya. There's a section of our law, it's called Section 162, that says, but I find it, yeah, that says, so Section 162A and C of the Kenyan Constitution has a penal code that says that it is a felony for any person to have carnal knowledge of any other person against the order of nature, or to permit a male person to have a carnal knowledge of him or her against the order of nature. And so this law, and this is punishable by 14 years of imprisonment. So this law has been weaponized or has been lifted out of context and put against queer people. So if a queer person is walking on the street, if two queer people are walking on the street, you need to walk as strangers, you shouldn't even hold hands. And if that is noticed, then you are having kind of knowledge of each other. If I produce content that has queer characters in it, it will be theater or dance or film or music, then I'm told that I'm promoting homosexuality or I'm promoting queerness, and I should be Actually, it's not even 14 years. I should be, life imprisonment. I should be prison for life. And so it becomes such a challenge. Anything like creativity is also now being stifled, and so we're just like, should I create in a certain way and not any other way? So that's where we are at. We are at the point of censorship, the point of uh, banning, putting a gag on production of queer content. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we are at. Where are you at, Becca? What's the state of the country?
So I'd say a little bit different here. So queer art at first is still young here. There are a few people who are doing queer art. I can count them on like one hand. There's like 3 people. So and only like 1 or 2 are openly doing queer art. Others just choose to put another title on it so that it can be sold. And we always have to keep quiet about what we're doing. So I've been, because of my story and my background of being outed, I have been I spent a lot of time working on myself to the point where I was like, you know what, enough is enough. If I'm going to share my story, if I'm going to advocate, then I have to tell things as they are. So I share my art, but I find myself most of the times, coming back to myself and having to heal from, the experience that I get from sharing my art. So my first short film is 1 minute long. It was one of the projects that were chosen by Goethe Institute in 2020. And I was able to like put it out there. And journalists in Rwanda are becoming a little bit open-minded. So with the titles, they're no longer cars, they just try to be open-minded. So a little bit though. So, but with the comments from the audience and, different people that a person, you wouldn't even know, they're always scary and discouraging, especially for a person like me who has been through, being outed publicly and having to face discrimination, being beaten on the street. It has always been like challenging, seeing, the comments of people who are still choosing to be arrogant towards the messages and, advocacy and, queer community. So I have found myself mostly having to come back and having to heal. So it's hard to really like create all the times, put the art out there. Even though I have many ideas, even though I have this passion of advocating and putting my art out there as it is still challenging because of how it is perceived. Also because we don't have that, at least in Nairobi, in Kenya, you have like a big community and sometimes you work together and you know that you really have queer art. But here with, only a few people, and it can be challenging. So that's where we are. I hope it makes sense. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's where we pretty much are.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, I hear persecution, I hear gagging, I hear that we are at an infant state in Rwanda. But I hear that the struggle is the same. We're still unheard, we're still underrepresented, and we're still in the struggle. We're still facing laws that are not favorable within an environment that does not support queerness before queer art, right? And I think for that, I'm going to drop another question. Are there any differences between the art you make versus the art that is popular or accepted? And then why do people feel that queer art cannot exist? Can we have queer art exist alongside contemporary art, mainstream art? And why do we even need queer art to exist on its own? I know I asked a couple of questions there, but anyone wants to throw in, maybe I could go to Riann.
I will talk about this on a personal level, and then maybe as a collective of queer artists and the popular art. One, the kind of art that I make or I involve myself with, mostly it's advocacy type of art. Two, it's like an authentic type of course there'll be the artistic bit of it, but I and my team are telling the situation as it is on the ground, you know. So basically we are telling our stories as they are, without being diluted, without choosing coded anything, you know, just as it is. With this type of art, you have to have a certain audience. One, it's queer, it's not accepted. So you'll have to censor the kind of audience that you will have. You'll have to censor where you will have it. Is it accessible? Is it safe for your audience? And also, is it safe for the people who your fellow artists? If we don't, even if it's not, it's being an advocacy type of art, then it's advocacy type of art also has its own kind of niche. It's not just any like popular or whatever the other artists put out there. And if you're asking whether it can exist alongside, yeah, if it can coexist, then yes, it can, if we are accepted, if we are free to express ourselves in an authentic way, if our security is not put at jeopardy or something of that sort, it can coexist. But we have a long way until we repeal the penal code and all that, and us being accepted and having no fear of being outed and all that. We have a long way, but I'm hopeful. I think we're in Pride Month. I have to be hopeful.
Right.
Yes.
Show up and show out, you know?
Yeah.
You know, your response got me thinking. Queer art is art at the very, base of it. But what you also brought up is activism, which is really, it cuts across. It's no queer, I mean, it could be queer activism, but you can also do gender-based violence kind of activism, right? But at the essence of it all, we're using this vehicle called art to deliver a message. So it could be a message that is meant to change behavior, change people's attitudes, right? So I think the next question, and I'd really like maybe to invite Becky on this and Obel. How do we begin to show, to bring the country or the government to understand that, our art is just art? The thing I'm talking about resonates with a certain group of people. You're not the audience. And you don't have to be the audience. You don't have to be included. Not everyone needs to hear this song or to come to this performance. I'm just looking for space for my audience, for the audience that resonates with the kind of thing that I do, right? Because also, Riann, you did talk about acceptance. And I'm a strong believer that we can be, we all need to be accepting and move away from tolerance. Like, who wants to be tolerated? Everyone wants to be accepted, right? The question I have is how does our country, how do we get to sit maybe on the same table and then agree that, this is not, it's not a competition. It's dialogue. I want to speak to my people and you have the right to speak to your people. If I have a niche audience, you have a niche audience. Everybody is satisfied. How do we get to that point where we're it's mature for everybody, for all the stakeholders. The parents don't feel like the queer artists are changing and transforming and turning their kids. How do we resolve this, guys? Becca, Obel, do you want to jump on this one?
So for me, I think we just need to work together more as queer people. I've noticed that we lack a lot of commitment and collaboration.
Rebecca, I think your network is a bit low, so we lost you. I'm gonna invite Obel to take the question as you maybe reconnect. Obel?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just actually we have almost a similar train of thought. So for me, I think our government hardly takes dialogue approach. Yeah, I mean, we've tried dialogue so many times. The repeal Section 132 has been tried over and over and over. But I think what we need to do is to produce more. Like, if what I noticed is that we give the government a lot of time to to process one art. Like, we release one queer performance and then stay for like 1 year, and then the government has the time to watch and review and then ban it. So what if we produce like 10 like every month? They will be tired of reviewing and banning. So for me, I think it's on mass production.
Strategy number one. Strategy number
Yeah,
one.
produce.
Okay.
And yeah, and another strategy is also to make them understand the business sense. I mean, we are not only creating for the sake of creating it. This is the creative industry. Yeah, this is the creative economy. We are adding, we are participating in that, and so just making them understand that. But I think it's all about trying. So we could try that way. It's hard for them to understand. That's what I have noticed. But doing it again over and over and over is gonna make them start wondering why is it persistent? Why are they persistent? And with that, I think it's gonna happen. Yeah.
If I can add on that, I know Gikuiyu did not ask me to add on that.
Go for it.
Becky and Obel has talked about how to engage the government. Well, I'm not polite. I'm totally not polite. So engaging the government and all those, I don't have the patience for it. Yeah. But what I know is engaging the community, engaging those who are around us, educate on the history bit of it. Maybe with the time we can get a good number of allies who will accept that, oh, so you guys are not acting. Oh, so it's not a disease. No, it's not something that you have just woken up and decided, oh, this is what I want to do, So we can tell the history of it, even starting from Africa, where it stemmed. Let us dismantle that narrative. It's a Western kind of thing. If we accepted from home, if we don't have to censor the people, the kind of audience that we'll have in our shows, if our security will be okay, if by the time I do an art, I'll release it on the social media, and I will not be worried that my neighbor, the next time when I'm coming through the gate, they'll be like, so this one is the one. We'll have taken a step from there. Then the government can catch up. We can have the community fighting for us. Though I know that's a very long-fetched dream, but we can achieve it pole too, a little bit by a little bit. So I think that could also be a need. Just engage the people around us, and telling them the history, how it is, how it, where it originates from, without having them thinking that it's something that we picked from somewhere, from peer pressure and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I know that's an approach you can have.
Yeah.
You guys just decided that will be no dialogue. It's just going to be unapologetically queer. That's it. Live as you are. I like it. I think it's very empowering. And especially for queer artists who are probably watching this and they're like, but we start. I think just start, right? Start. Be you, enjoy you, create like you. And then let whatever happens. You know, of course you have to be mindful, but then for your own safety and security. But I think the fear should not be a factor. It shouldn't be the driving force. We should be led by love and the fight for, you know, acceptance. Thank you so much for giving us that. You know, I love it. Riann was like, we're not even having it. This is not, no. Thank you for your table. We're building our new table. Thanks, guys. Okay, so do you find it easy or hard to gather resources for your shows or your performances? I just said resources, guys. You didn't have to frown. I just said resources.
Hey, it's because, hey, Obel, do you want to tell this story?
Let Becky start, or you.
Yeah.
No, let's start with you, Obel.
Is it easy to get funding?
Which funding are you talking about?
Okay,
Well,
maybe when we talk about resources, we need to break it down. There's funding, there's casting, you know, who are you working with? Do you get support? You have, you know, just making the thing come to life, whatever that takes. I know money is a big factor. But let's see. What do we have?
Okay. So I'll give I'll answer the question based on the experience that I had. So earlier this year I was producing a queer performance. It was a gay themed play, and it wasn't, you know, it was a bit of a challenge in getting funding. It was, it started from asking, you know, writing proposals to get funding. But where we start from is asking for partnerships or asking for collaborations with the safe spaces that are there. So a lot of people are not gonna give you like cash, but you tell them what you want, like equipment or space. There are not so many, but the few spaces that are a little bit friendly are, you'd rather approach people from the point of I need support with space and I need support with equipment. That one is easier. When it comes to human resource, you know, people whom we are working with, it's not easy. And why it's not easy is because of the existing homophobia, the existing penal code. So a lot of, actually, I remember approaching an actor, and what he told me is like, I don't want to be known for only acting queer in queer, you know, in queer theater. So that was a layer. There were several layers in that, you know, when an actor tells you, yes, they're willing, but they don't want to be known as this actor. This is that actor who acts in gay plays or films. So there's that fear that if someone acts, whether they are queer or not queer, they will be labeled, or it's a way of outing themselves, and sometimes they're not ready for it. So it was such a challenge. It is still a challenge in casting, but there is hope, because I think right now, how I solve that challenge is making the actors and even the crew understand that they are also sharpening their skills, and in the process we are telling our stories and we are creating a normalcy. It's normal to tell these stories, and you shouldn't be afraid. So yeah, but funding is still really, so you'd rather approach someone from the point of other support in kind and not like in finances. But if you get the finances, also good for you. Yeah.
Okay. On my part, the first production that we stayed, that was Midnight Musings. It was an all LBQ GNC kind of production. So on my part, I wanted to have a queer story told by queer peeps. I didn't have room to involve straight actors. So I called out, I put out a call out for actors, but they didn't quite turn out as I expected. But all in all, I managed to get the kind of cast that I wanted. Also, as Obel said, for me, I want to grow with my artist, like, so I'm not gonna outsource for someone else, or when we are telling this story, I don't want to write a story of someone that I cannot get in my cast. I'm working with a team that I want them to grow with every production that we stage. The second production that we were to do in April, before we made some changes, we were to involve gay men, but it was tricky getting those ones. Obel, it was tricky. It was very tricky to get gay actors. And I ended up with only 2 who were interested. The others were like, "Wow, I'm not yet out." And they're actors, actually. And it's funny how with that I came to know that in the industry we have queer artists and actors, but you can't know because they're acting on the other popular kind of performances. So with this one, they're afraid. People are afraid of being outed. So on the human resource, I think I'm sorted, because already with how we are registered, I already have everyone in my own basket. We are a full course meal. With funding, I've been trying to write concepts. Let's see how those ones go, but I did not really get financial support with the 2 that I've been doing. But with moral support, I've gotten that one. I've totally gotten moral support. That group of your queer family that really supports you in that, I don't know even how to say it. They just cheer you up, like, yeah, go. Someone who will tell, well, sales have not been that good. I'm struggling to foot this. They might not give you that bill, but they will call you, they will text you to check up on you, like, hey, how are you doing, and all that. And people who support what you're doing and who appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, so for moral support, tick. On my part, for human resource, I'm good. I'm sorted on that part. When I'm doing a production that I need gay actors, I'll reach out to Obel. Yes. But on the funding bit, well, it's tricky, but we are getting there.
Okay. So what do you say to people who talk about, who say that queer art can only be realized, or I guess queer art can only be brought to the masses through donor funding, and they never think that this could be something that we could do from the grassroots? What do you say to those kinds of people? How do we begin to unwrite that narrative, because it is a narrative that anything that is queer is donor funded, even the queerness itself, right? How do we, it's that absurd. The beliefs out there are so absurd. And that's what, sort of, I feel like sometimes that's what motivates the persecution, real on stage and off stage,
Yeah.
So how do we begin to change these narratives? Do we create better shows? Do we create shows? Do we include queer art in mainstream art? What do we do? Maybe Rebecca hasn't spoken in a minute. Hi, girl.
Sorry, I just had a technical issue, but I'm back. Apologies. So, that would definitely be a very big challenge, because as I was saying here in Rwanda, we don't have that togetherness as you have as a queer community in Kenya. So most of queer people are still in the closet. Most of queer people are afraid of even, hanging out with queer people who are out and about. So it would be a very, it would be a hard to put together, because at least as Riann was saying, she had more support. She had a queer community that supported her in her work, and everything. This is something that I don't have yet, that I really want, but I don't have yet. I recently was talking to my friend who has an organization, a queer organization, and I was like, you know what, you probably should add art in your project so that we can get some funding and do some work, because as an activist and as an independent activist, as an artist, it's hard for me to bring any project to life if I don't have money. It is impossible, because even I'm in the art world, but my projects are always considered to be dangerous or more sensitive. So every person that I approach in the movie industry, whenever I'm trying to do a project, always needs to be paid, so that they're always like, yo, if you're going to take this risk, we better get paid at least. So for me, it would be very hard, but it doesn't mean that it's not achievable. So what we have to do, as I was saying before, the technical issue is to find a way of working together. You're in Kenya, I'm in Rwanda, but it's East Africa. In Rwanda, we don't have a very, together community, but I'm so sure that if we work together, we can really motivate queer people in Rwanda, also bring up projects that will make them realize that this is something that really needs their energy, that really needs their effort and support. So yeah, so we can only achieve it if we work together, really. Yeah.
So building networks and collaboration.
Yeah, building networks. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If I can add on that, in January I attended the Magoha March, which was organized because of what CS Magoha, who is the CS for education in Kenya, are discriminating queer students. And they are young and all that, and that could put a lot of pupils and students in harm's way, just because they are perceived, or they show some queerness tendencies and all that. And what I could hear was, the bystanders, they will say, these are children from rich families, or they are funded, So I totally agree with you when you say that anything queer, it's perceived to be funded and all that. On my part, when we came together and wanted to do art and earn from our art, we did not want to do the democrat. As I said, I'm a stubborn one. I don't want to come and beg for money. Oh God, that gives me chills. But anyway, we are forced to. We are totally forced to, because one, we have, according to because of the kind of audience that we are targeting, then you find that we are not able to to totally sold out our shows. That forces us to outsource hata kama ni from our own pockets to pay for the venues, for our own cast. At least me, I have a team, the one that I can say, well, at the moment, personally, I have this, I will do your transport and this or lunch, and maybe we can do just a show without the payments. But also that makes me as an artist to be very bitter on the part that they're putting their time. This is their talent. They need to be earning from it, So it's also like, no, this is not justice. They're willing to do it, but then it's like, you have your you have your own bills and responsibilities to take care of. You need to be paid. Then this forces us to go and outsource for funds from donors, because we need to settle bills, because the information that we are giving is not popular. So we cannot even have, we cannot post our posters in some, what are they called? In some outlets, maybe if you have friends like Obel or others who can repost on their own like social medias and all that. Second, as we know that most of our queer peeps are on the corner, COVID came, people are struggling to foot their own bills. They're not staying at their families' homes and all that. So you find like for a person, maybe they're coming from Thika. Thika is quite a distance from where we are, and maybe you are hosting the show in Nairobi. That person might really want to come for your show. They are willing to pay for the transport to and fro, but maybe they're not able to pay for the entrance fee. And having like me dealing with advocacy type of art, then I need this message. It's an entertainment. I need it to reach the targeted audience. So it's either I outsource for funds from somewhere else to make sure that my audience has come to watch the show, or I will only have 5 people who manage to pay for the show, So it's tricky, but all of us are willing or are wishing that we could not ask for funding, but we are forced to. And it's not easy.
Not easy. I think what I hear is that we are navigating. We're doing anything possible to get that art to the people, to get the messages of hope and light to the people who really need it, to our audiences. And so I have 2 questions, which I will wrap up in one, because we are really short of time, guys. And the first question is, now that these are all challenges, we are thinking, we have to think through solutions. Have we had any instances of hope? Have we had anything that rekindles your hope in even, securing funding, in that change of behavior and attitudes? Have you had anything that has convicted you that, okay, this is possible? Is there a production that you did that made you shift your mindset? And what keeps you going, really? So I'm going to ask you to answer that. And at the same time, I will want you to tell me, what are the ways, the creative ways that you have devised, you being a queer artist, have devised to make sure that you have gotten your message across? 2 in 1. Who do we go with? Let's start with Obel. I know Obel has devised all manner of things. So we're going to take 2 minutes each so that we don't wind up exceeding.
Yeah, you make me feel like no, I haven't. Well, the instances that really give me hope is, first of all, for us in Kenya, luckily, we've identified each other as queer creatives, and there is that sense, there is support. So there's available support, and it's in terms of, fellow queer creatives making time to know what you're working on and showing the willingness to come support you. And then there are available, there's resilience, I could also say, like we keep on, seeing Koyo, for instance, doing more music videos, seeing Riann still planning to do another performance, just makes me ask myself, and me, what am I doing? What about me? So there is that kind of that resilience really makes me uncomfortable, and a positive uncomfortability in the sense that I want to also keep on, keep on creating. Yeah, so building a community and being resilient to keep on creating. But also what really gave me hope when I was doing my performance and I had been kicked off from one venue, and realizing that there is a particular venue that is very friendly to the queer community. Um, so that gave me hope that I could do more. So as much as space is a challenge, but there are specific spaces that are available to us. And accessibility is still now an issue because, again, for you to access such spaces, you have to maneuver, you have to use other means of transport that are, maybe you have to use a cab, an Uber or something. And again, as Riann said, the community, queer community, a lot of guys are unemployed, a lot of guys have no, like, a continuous flow of income. So when you get a space, and then now I have to ask myself, how will they access the space? So there is that. And then you said the creative ways in which I've had to work. Um, for me, it's how I market my shows now, because I realize that when you making a lot of noise attracts the naysayers. So yes, I make noise, but in making noise, but in a clever way. That's what I would say. Yeah, so I find ways of selling the show as a normal show. And I hate to say normal because you're also being queer is normal. So I find ways of um, packaging, yeah, so how I package the content, especially during the marketing stage. So I would say, for instance, our play, we said it was a birthday party. And every other person who kept on asking whose birthday party is this, that's when I would go to their inbox and explain. And data is very important. So every time I have a meeting with queer people, creatives, or even allies, I always keep their data so that next time I have something, I reach them more directly. So I reach them fast directly because I can call, I can text, I can email. And then, so I don't have to do a lot of work now in the publicities at the publicity stage. Yeah.
Clever guy. I love it. I love it. I think we can all borrow from that. Marketing is key for the success of your show, but we have to get the word out there by any means necessary. What about you, Rebecca? What have these things been for you? Instances of hope, creative devices that you have employed to make sure, you know what, my work will see the light of day and it will reach the right people, my people.
So instances of hope and moments like this, guys, like before 2 years back, I never thought I would sit with three amazing queer people tackling issues like this. I never thought about that. I never thought about queer art existing in Rwanda, as being able to speak up. And it always gives me hope, like looking back at where I was wanting to die and looking at myself now wanting to share my story, and not only that, but also fight for what I believe in. Gives me hope. Also looking around and seeing queer people resilient, trying to live their true selves, you know, it always gives me hope, guys. Like the history of my advocacy has always been totally different. It's not something that I saw from any other person. I was like, you know, I have this talent, and if I'm going to tell stories, I better be telling stories that will change, you know, and help queer community. I never had anyone to support me, or a group of queer artists who were like, yo, this is a family, come. I never had that. So it was always based on, you know, hope, you know, let me put this out there. I'm so sure someone else somewhere will see this, and at some point we'll get together and work together. And it's already happening. And, you know, it proves me that I was right the whole time, and, you know, it keeps me going. So, and the parts where I had to bend and try to share my story was, you know, in my writing, the way that I write my stories, I try to make it a little bit creative, but also add other stories that when it comes to pitching, I won't have an issue because it's only queer. So I've always managed to add in that glimpse of creativity and, you know, humanity, so that I can, you know, bring my projects to life. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that you talk about it the way you do, that we're not alone, and we find each other, we find community because of this work, because we continue to do what we do. And finally, Riann, tell us some more.
I believe when someone is authentic, you know, and believe in what they're doing, then you'll always find your soul family. One way or another, you will meet, you know, the authentic team that you need. I've not gone looking for people. I think how I came to know about Obel, someone just texted me, hey Riann, you remember this post that I had? So there's this friend of mine called, that's how I came to know about Obel. And I'm sure the one who shared Obel's details, or whoever shared them, the one who shared my details to Obel, they truly believed in what, you know, they trusted what I'm doing and believed the cause, the reason as to why I'm doing whatever I'm doing, you know. So instances of hope, that having your community accept you, you know, like they have trusted you in telling their stories. It's amazing. Having those random messages that ask you, hey Riann, how is, you know, Between Self and I coming along? How far? When are the new dates? When will you stage it? You know, it's encouraging. You know, Obel telling me, asking me whether we should sit down and work on something. You know, it's wow, yeah. I'm loving this. You know, it gives me goosebumps, and the good type of goosebumps. Yeah. Having the community mention that the type of art, the light of which I'm portraying the community, it's how we needed this, you know. It's like you're filling a gap that was there, and it's accepted because I'm doing this for my community. So I cannot like miss the mark of having content that is not serving them, it's not adding value to them. The creative ways I I do my marketing or something of that sort. I think I would, as I said, I'm a hard one. I don't know how kucheza chini. I don't know how to, you know, do things underwater. I don't know how that will be translated in the actual English. Yeah, but I try. I communicate to the clients or to the community members who have come to watch my shows before, That's how I've been doing it. I'm not so good in marketing, so I've been trying to get someone who can do marketing for me. So at that, I have nothing to say. Gikuiyu, we have lost you.
Yeah, but there was a question of what are you currently working on? Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah. So kind of what you're working on, Becky and Riann. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have been working on the post-production of my film called Home, about identities and refuge. But I kind of in between had to pause because of what we previously talked about, being an artist to begin with is always to, constantly have to share your trauma with the word and then having to heal and everything. So I've had moments of just taking care of myself and focusing on my well-being so that I'm able to be more and of service and to contribute better. So I've been working on the post-production, but mostly taking care of my well-being, my mental health, my physical health, so that I can come back and tell more stories in a better way without breaking down ever again. So yeah.
Yeah, with that, Becky, healing is a journey. We'll always have, we'll always have those things that always poke at our traumas. I'm sending you hugs and a lot of love. So for me, what you're welcome. For me, what I'm working on is the project that I was to stage in April. That is Between Self and I. That is that I'm planning. It's to tackle myths and challenges faced by bisexuals. Yeah, and also maybe a very short stage play about before elections. That is to just sensitize the queer community and how not to be thrown under the bus during this critical time of the year and in the country. So yeah, so I have those two coming along. Let's see how they will play out. I know Obel will be there. Yes. Gikuiyu, you should also attend. Yeah, so those are the projects that I'm working on.
Wow, amazing.
Sure.
Yeah, I will be there. For me, I'm currently working on my own story. So it's a one-man show, a solo theatrical performance about my intersection, my body, and my journey as a queer man. And the story it's about a metaphor of being a fly. So I am but a fly. Yeah. So it's gonna be in end of June, towards the end of Pride Month, and yeah, I'm all yours, guys. I'll invite you also to the show.
I'm waiting for it. I'm so jazzed up for that one.
Yes. I think now I would like to hand back to Ko, whether he's there.
Where is he?
Yeah.
And I am coming for all your shows, all of them.
You're welcome.
I will come. I think we need to show up for each other. Just before I dropped off, we were talking about community, and I think that one way we build that is by consistently showing up for each other when we can. This is also, life is also unfolding. What am I working on? I'm also working on a show that is also based on intersectionality. I call it I is Watching You. The I itself. So it's really my personal journey through the last 3 years of self-discovery, self-introspection, and I really resonated with what Becca said, that creating art is about sharing your trauma with the world. And even as queer people, I think there's so much to share, but there's also so much to heal, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there's so much to heal. So this work is necessary. This work is needed, and I I I I I hope that the work that I'm putting together will resonate with everybody. Because for my show, I welcome all types of people to find their intersectionality. I welcome everybody to find their intersectionality and find out why is there this hate, or why do I love the things that I love. And so that's it for me. Once again, you guys, thank you for sharing yourselves and your experiences and your ideas and your minds, and just letting us know where you're at. So sharing your mindset. I really hope that this conversation has been useful to you watching all over the world. We continue this fight. This is Pride Month. Do not forget to show up and show up strong. Show up and show out, actually,
Yeah.
right?
So
So,
Gikuiyu, before you close things up,
yes,
I had
yes,
that write up that I had done.
let's do it.
And since it's Pride Month, I think it's fair. It's fair just to honor those who crossed over before us. What do you guys think?
Let's
I
do
know
it.
we passed
Let's
time.
do it. I think we should do it.
I think
Yes.
I'll just read it out. I will not really perform it, but I'll really do it. So I have not given it a name. I wrote it on my phone, so I had to transfer it before we started. And so here it goes. In honor of Sheila and all the queer peeps that had their life cut short. So my body is cold. My heart stopped beating 3 days before they found my body lying in a pool of my own blood. My soul has already resigned. And yeah, I get shivers in this afterlife every second I remember all they did to me. Afraid I am. Afraid I am for everyone in a woman's body. Anyone who tries to challenge the norms of this society that tries every time to put us in one basket. This society that has chosen to kill us before they see us becoming our actual self. The society that serves death as the ultimate punishment for identifying differently from what they expect us to be. Dressing differently from how they wish we should. This one will have you being treated indifferent for being different. Here you will be told you acting. Yeah, I said acting. Acting different from who you are, as if they can fathom who the F we are. My blood cries for justice. For I wonder how many we have to be cut short for being different, for daring, for growing into our actual self. But my peeps, all in all, allow me to remind you, my pretty humans, be you, dare to grow, dare to be. For I know we have warriors who are gonna see to it that a safe space is created for our kind. Till then, we keep the fight on. Amandla. Yeah, happy Pride Month to you.
Wow, beautiful. Happy Pride Month. Beautiful words. Wow. I think we need to publish this somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll plan on that.
Yes, yes, I think beautiful words, beautiful. And I think that's it, guys. Sadly, but this is the beginning of something new.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we have found each other and that this platform was made available to us. So thank you so much to Rattlestick, and for the work that you do. Thank you for locating us all the way in East Africa and letting us also have a voice, especially during this time when we really need to hear ourselves, see ourselves, and connect. So, guys, my challenge to you as you go forward is call yourself to commitment. Love yourself, call yourself to your own commitment. I love that Riann encouraged us to be ourselves. That is something to commit to. You're beautiful as you are, and you're enough. So I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for listening in and for chilling with us. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.